folks, it's Jeff here. Just a quick reminder, if you're loving Disney Coast to Coast, there are a couple of easy ways that you can support the show. We'd love it if you could rate and review us on iTunes, or wherever you listen to the show. This is a simple way to help other Disney fans find us. Also, go ahead and share your favorite episodes on social media and be sure to tag us. You can find all of our social media information at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. And finally, I just want to say thank you to all of you who listen every week. Your support is very appreciated, and we love that you're enjoying our Disney geekiness. Now on with the show.
Is your magic meter running low? Well, we've got a cure for you. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePaoli, and today on the show, I just can't get enough of this guy, Derek Lewis from the Mad Chatters podcast. Hello and welcome back.
Hey there, I love joining you on this podcast, so thanks for having me.
I am particularly excited to have you on today because this is something I've never experienced in person. You've actually done it since the beginning. And I am so excited, in fact, I'm just going to tease the fact that I literally, as I was doing research for this yesterday, I had to call you in the middle of my research because I flipped out about something. So without saying, we're going to tease it, and I'll talk about it later in the show. But how crazy did you think I was calling you about that specific thing?
You know, after knowing you as long as I have, it did not surprise me necessarily, but I love it because I too am obsessed with what we're talking about today, probably for different reasons, but it's there.
Excellent. Well, we're going to be talking about the Disney Springs Christmas Tree Trail, so let's jump into that right now.
It's time to dive into today's Disney Dialogue.
Alrighty, so the Disney Springs Christmas Tree Trail began in 2016. So this is a new Christmas tradition for the Walt Disney World Resort. And it's interesting because, I mean, as I said, you've experienced it all 3 years now, 2016, 17, 18. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. But this is something that, at the beginning, I think every Disney fan kind of hated and was embarrassed by. And now it's become something spectacular. Would you agree or disagree?
I would agree with that. But to go back even farther, I remember when they announced this on the Disney Parks blog. And I think buzz was actually pretty good at that point. I remember thinking, Christmas trees designed to some of my favorite movies of all time. That's a really great idea. I had high hopes.
Yeah, I like the concept. And first of all, one of the reasons I really, really wanted to talk about this today, obviously there is tons of Christmas stuff going on in the Disney parks, much of which we've discussed on Disney Coast to Coast before. But the reason I specifically wanted to talk about this is because, number one, we haven't talked about it all that much, but more importantly, I love the fact that this is a free offering at Walt Disney World, that literally you could be in Orlando for business or for any reason and want to get like a touch of that Disney magic, but not want to spend $100 for a park ticket or whatever. And you can head to Disney Springs and check this thing out 100% for free. Unless, are they charging for parking yet? I'm not sure.
No, the garages are free.
100% for free.
Yeah.
Like, so I love that about this.
And it's totally, as far as I know, it's totally unique to Disney Springs. Like none of the other worldwide resorts have it either. And also, we talk all the time about how Disney Springs is pleasant and pretty, but I mean, if you're not shopping or eating, there's not a lot to do. But now you like have at least a 30-minute event that your friends can just go walk through and enjoy, and you don't have to buy anything.
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar with the Disney Springs Christmas Tree Trail, I guess we should say real quickly, you kind of mentioned it, but it's simply that. It's a trail of Christmas trees, and each tree is themed to a different Disney theme and or movie. And it's a pretty simple concept, but it has grown into something really, really, really wonderful. I do just want to take a moment to discuss the fact that I'm very happy this is the case, but very surprised that Disney goes and calls it the Disney Springs Christmas Tree Trail or Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. I'm really surprised in this PC world that we live in, that they don't call it the Holiday Tree Trail or something like that. I'm always shocked by this.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I hadn't thought of that. I guess just because Christmas tree as a phrase is so accepted now. Go cut down the Christmas tree.
Derek, everything I feel like isn't accepted anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I have zero problem with it. I'm thrilled that they call it the Christmas tree trail. I'm just surprised by it. I mean, they still have the candlelight processional, so obviously Disney is not scared of like making Christmas and not holiday, and so I love it. I'm just surprised by it.
Yeah.
And I love the little fact.
My co-host has given it the name Santa's Happy Trail. So
why is that?
Because, Jeremy.
Because he's inappropriate?
I guess so. I didn't say it. But yeah. Christmas tree trail. There you go.
Okay.
Live with it.
I live with it. I'm thrilled with it, and I hope the name never changes. And I hope it never goes away. Now, this is near Earl of Sandwich, right? It's in an old bus depot. Is that correct?
I think you are right about the bus depot. I mean, it is at the very end of the Disney Springs property before you start walking in a parking lot.
Is that officially called the Disney Springs Marketplace?
Yes.
Okay. So it's that end, and it's always been in that location. Is that correct?
Yes. Same place all 3 years.
Now, we're going to go through the trees that they have and discuss them and talk about our favorites and such. But one thing I just wanted to mention real quickly, as we said, that first year, it looked very homemade. And I was surprised to learn that I guess the holiday services team at Walt Disney World have always been responsible for these trees, even though in that first year it kind of looked like, a kindergarten class. I shouldn't be a middle school class, arts and crafts class,
Totally. I know we're going to talk about this, but that first year was a joke. And I cannot believe that not only did it even come back, like we walked through it and I remember thinking like, oh, this is a good effort, but they're never going to do this again. But they came back 20 times better the next year.
Yeah. What it makes me think of now is kind of, so as we said, you, me, everybody was kind of embarrassed by that first year and couldn't believe what it was. It kind of reminded me of this year's Pirates of the Caribbean that they did for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
Yeah.
Where it was like, really? That's it?
Yeah.
And maybe it's just like a proof of concept, like, oh, people will show up for it. It interests them. And so, wouldn't it be cool if next year Pirates during the Halloween party is phenomenal, like the second year of this Christmas tree trail was? That'd be pretty cool.
Well, I do know Disney keeps close tabs on social media, so it's very possible that they follow all of these people who are in the know and who have a big voice on social media, and we're like, okay, so they don't hate the idea, but they hate the execution. We can improve that.
Sure, and there definitely were things that they did to improve it, but also make it profitable the future years, which we'll get to. But let's start with 2016, and they started with 15 trees. I'm just going to list them real quickly. They had Mickey and Minnie Mouse, Disney Villains, Moana, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, Cinderella, The Princess and the Frog, Alice in Wonderland, Frozen, The Jungle Book, Mulan, 101 Dalmatians, Tangled, Mary Poppins, and The Muppets. So a pretty wide range, I would say, of properties there. Mm-hmm. Some that were a little bit surprising. But I guess when you went that first year, I guess, did you go at the beginning or had you heard at that point that it was kind of a bust?
I had not really heard many good things or bad things. I feel like we were there within the first week or two of it debuting.
Okay.
And, let me walk you through what
Please
it was when you show up. You arrive, and it very much looks like the parking lot that it is, because the trees were very spread out that first year. You could, it's hard to explain, but the pathway was just wide open, and then every 20 feet or so, there was this dinky little tree, and they really were dinky. If you look at the pictures, they have grown considerably in size.
Those are called pencil trees.
Yes.
Because they're essentially thin like a pencil, and they're slightly wider at the base than they are at the top. But not all of them, but a good amount of them that first year were legitimately pencil trees. And the thing that I thought was funny was the trees surrounding the featured trees were big bushy trees covered in snow.
Yes, the trees all around were gorgeous. And then it made them even look even smaller because in between these beautifully white snowy trees is this little like 5 foot tall pencil tree, and it's like, guys, come on.
Yeah, it was definitely it was something, but obviously, it was good enough for you to return. Obviously,
No.
I think if you had paid for it, you would have been like, no.
No, Jeff, I can tell you specifically, I remember returning for the second year being so excited because we had so much fun that first year making fun of the trees. like, I'm not kidding. Okay, can I call out one specifically?
Please.
When we saw the Alice in Wonderland tree, there was a reference to the Cheshire Cat, and it was 2 white ornaments that were basically oversized ping pong balls, like really cheap plastic. I could probably crush it with my hand. And drawn on it with a Sharpie were the 2 pupils. And then below it, forming the smile, those paper plates with like the ridges all the way around? Someone had just cut the ridge part of it and drawn on it, and that was the smile. And we just had a blast picking out all these cheap details. And so the second year I was like, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait. And then I was like, oh no, okay, these are kind of good. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so.
That's hilarious. I love it. One of the things that correct me if I'm wrong, I think they still do today that I'm very much against is on the trees they hang the sign of like the title of the movie. Do they still do that?
Yeah, they do. You know what? Now that you say that, I don't know if they do. It's definitely on the wall behind it.
Yeah, and that's
I remember that from the first year, but I actually think they changed that.
I think it was definitely the 2017. Now I'm forgetting as well. Oh, I can't remember now. But in any case, they basically hang a sign with the title of the movie, which is ridiculous because all of these trees have backings that make it very clear what the movie is. And even still, like, to me, it's kind of like when you're listening to somebody who does impersonations and they have to tell you who they're impersonating. I'm like, oh, well, then you're doing a bad impersonation.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the Christmas tree decoration should speak for themselves. And frankly, in all cases, even in year one, if they didn't have a sign on the tree, I'm pretty sure we would have known what movie it was representing.
Right. So when we say, like, let me just explain this in case people aren't following. When we say the tree is decorated to that movie, for instance, 101 Dalmatians had a lot of white ornaments with black spots on them. And then like the Beauty and the Beast one had a lot of roses. I remember that first year, it was almost exclusively roses. And then like a Lumiere ornament that you could probably buy at Target was hanging on it. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and they tend to put like props from the movies, and if it's like ocean themed, there'll be seashells and stuff like that. So it's pretty obvious, I would say. Some of my favorite details were in that first year, they had the chimney sweep brushes in the tree for Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's such a cool little detail. Do you remember any details you really liked from year one?
Oh gosh, year one feels like so long ago. I just remember how cheap the props looked. I liked the fact that there was a villain's tree. Like I remember thinking, oh, that was a good idea. I'm glad they did that. I do remember the Mary Poppins one. I specifically remember that improving over the years because this year I think the Mary Poppins one is a standout. But
did you have a favorite?
Unfortunately, I don't remember.
Did you have a favorite tree that year by any chance?
That's what I mean. I really don't remember.
Oh, you don't remember? My favorite was
favorite.
definitely Tangled. I just loved the detail of like the garland of the tree was her hair. Yeah. So like wrapping all around the tree was her hair, which I thought was really, really cute and cool. And also, of course, the floating lanterns, which have gotten better through the years. Even these trees that have returned, I will say, they definitely plus them through the years. So Tangled was my favorite. Moana, I hated. Oh my gosh. Do you happen to recall the Moana tree?
Was it lots of like flowers and shells?
It was a lot of like, I don't know if seaweed's the right word, but like, I don't like nautical stuff on trees, I think is what it comes down to. Like, it looked like the ocean vomited on a tree. And I was like, I hate this Moana tree.
Well, let me tell you
my
the
least
biggest
favorite.
difference I noticed, because I did have to go back today and look at some pictures to remind myself what they look like. The biggest difference I noticed between year one and year two, that first year they really relied on just the color scheme to carry it through. So in like the Tangled one, if pink and yellow were the colors, they would have a few props, but mostly it would just be pink and yellow round ornaments and pink and yellow bows, and they trusted that that was enough to get it across.
Hence the sign that they hung on it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think I saw any bows this year, and very few basic ornaments because they got more creative.
Yeah, I also love the film strip bows that they put on the Muppets one, since like the Muppets is very show busy. And the Alice in Wonderland one, although it had the cheap Cheshire cat that you're talking about, I did love the Mad Hatter hat as the topper of the tree. I thought that was a nice little detail. So
yeah.
Before we go beyond year one, I am curious, that was also the year where they had the Starbright Holidays drone show in Disney Springs, and I'm curious if you ever checked it out, because this is something you don't really hear people talk about anymore, but I think of it every Christmas. I'm like, how sad that was like a 1-year experience.
Yeah,
So,
did you see it?
I've only seen videos of it.
Okay, we loved it.
Yeah.
We saw it that same night, I'm pretty sure. And all of us, like every time the drones moved to a new position, you could easily pick out what they were forming in the sky.
You must have been standing in the perfect location, though, because I do feel like if you're in the wrong spot, it's kind of like, okay, there's colored lights in the sky, but I have no idea what this is supposed to be.
That's interesting. Yeah, we were right on the water. It almost looked like they had sort of encouraged people to stand where we were standing. So that is possible. But also the music, like I feel like it was an original score, but they definitely did Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin With Me. And it was this beautiful choir singing. The only thing was it was so short. As soon as it started, it was over, it felt like.
So do you know the story behind why this even existed, supposedly?
I feel like I heard it was a test for something.
Yeah, so first of all, I guess if listeners are listening and don't know what we're talking about, it was called Starbright Holidays, and I believe presented by Intel. Is that correct? Was it Intel?
I think you're right, yeah.
Something like that. And it was at Disney Springs over the water, and it was essentially a show of lights in the sky, and these lights were driven around by drones. And they formed different images, like a Christmas tree or a dove or whatever, to Christmas music. Very short show. But if you remember, soon after that, in January or February, whenever the Super Bowl was, there were drones with lights on them spelling out Pepsi in the sky behind Lady Gaga.
No.
And that was presented by Intel, from what I understand, and this was supposedly the test for that. That's what I hear, as well as hopeful future tests for drones to be used in Epcot for the Illuminations replacement, which, from what I understand, is not going well. So,
oh no, don't say that.
Yeah, well, I don't think the drones are going to be part of the show. They can't figure out how to safely get them to where they need to be, it sounds like. Because they need to be staged backstage and then fly over the park to get over the water, and apparently that's just very dangerous and liability and such. That's what I've heard. I could be 1,000% wrong. I don't know.
I remember joking that night that, like, it was a really cool show, and then, like I said, as soon as, like, the lights just went out, and then you kind of realize, oh, the drones are gone now, because since it's dark outside, you don't see them fly away to their home or wherever they were going.
Yeah.
But I remember joking, like, someone smarter than I am could easily hack those things and do whatever they wanted at that point.
Yeah, so I hope that we sometimes see it in the parks. I think that would be great. But I think that it's something they need to, like, plan way in advance for. Like, hey, this needs to be in a backstage area that, like, the guests will never walk under and stuff like that. So I don't know. I hope we see it in the Illuminations replacement. I think that would be great. But the press materials so far make zero mention of it. So
why couldn't they be housed in, like, the globe that goes out on the water, and then when the globe opens, they are released?
That's what I've always wondered, why they couldn't just go out on a platform, but I don't know the technology behind it. But from what I understand, that year was really a test for the Super Bowl. So I find that to be really interesting, because obviously being a Disney nerd, and shockingly actually watching the Super Bowl halftime show, I was definitely like, oh, that's the Christmas show at Disney Springs happening behind Lady Gaga right now.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's funny to me that and the Christmas Tree Trail debuted in the same year because, like, execution-wise, they could not be farther from each other on the scale.
And the one that was good quality went away.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. I love it. Anywho, let's jump to 2017, where so this year it definitely got plussed, and it also, I feel like they probably thought to themselves, hey, this works, we got to do it, but if we want to plus this, we need more money, and if we need more money, we need to make money from this somehow. So this is when I believe they added snack stands in there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
and also it just looked grander from the very start. Like, I'm sure you've seen pictures of the big entrance overhead.
Yeah.
It almost looks like a big stage set up there. Whereas the first year it was
kind of like one of those
sign.
Marathon, like, finish line things, right?
I'm sure they used the exact same one now that you say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the first year it was just a little sign on a wooden pole that was shaped like a Christmas tree. So you can already tell that they put more money into it that second year.
Yeah, so they had roasted almonds and stuff, and of course, one of the highlights was you could meet Santa Claus there. They kind of put Santa's meet and greet. Is it at the beginning or in the middle or at the end of this?
Okay, so I started in the same place all 3 years, but I'm always surprised when I reach the end that people are coming in that way. So I don't necessarily know if there's a beginning and an end. It's just kind of like a trail.
So do both entrances have that archway that you were talking about?
No.
So the archway is the entrance then?
I would think so, but they both had a Walt Disney World general tree at the beginning and the end that kind of represented all four parks.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they both had the little booklet that you could pick up if you wanted to do the scavenger hunt. And Santa was kind of right in the middle.
Interesting. So I was watching video of this, and I saw the Santa Claus visit. Could we just take a moment? I've talked about this before. I think it was on Aaron Wallace's podcast. But I have such a huge problem with Disney in general and their Santa Clauses and their friends of Santa. It blows my mind that they don't have the best Santas available. I think they're quite mediocre. They're not bad, but they're really, really, really mediocre compared to like Macy's or even like the Grove here in LA. Like, we get some incredible real beard Santas, and I don't think Disney does.
I don't know if I've ever thought that. I'm sure I've seen pictures of him.
Have you never seen Santa in a Disney park? You must have seen him in a parade or something.
I mean, I definitely see him in the parade, and during the trail, I could see him inside his little cabin, and it didn't.
It looked to me like John Hammond from Jurassic Park in a Santa suit. Like, he had a short white beard.
With that?
I mean, listen, if they advertised it as John Hammond playing the role of Santa Claus, I'd be so into it. In fact, Universal Studios, please run with that idea. I want to see that on Jurassic Island. But if I'm meeting Santa Claus, I want to meet Santa Claus. And I don't know, it was a short bearded Santa. I appreciated the fact that it was a real beard, but it was a short beard. I was like, that doesn't look right. And then in the parks, at least at Disneyland, for consistency's sake, they all have fake beards. And I'm like, really? Disney has a fake beard Santa? Like, this is shocking to me. And it bothers me so much.
Listen, I just thought I was coming on to talk about the tree trail. I didn't know we were throwing shade at Santa Claus. What's happening?
No, that's the thing. I love Santa Claus, so I don't want to throw any shade at Santa Claus. I just want him to be respected. I understand he can't be everywhere. I understand that, sometimes he needs helpers and friends. But I feel like they should represent him a little bit better sometimes.
Well, we rope dropped the tree trail last week. It was my last day in the parks, and it opens at 11. My flight left at like 2.
Oh, my goodness.
I was like, I need to be there at 11. And so we got there at 11, and Santa was already meeting, and he had a 95-minute wait.
Wow.
Yeah.
Santa's a cash cow.
I guess. They even had like the computer set up to where you could check in, but then walk around Disney Springs, and they would text you when it was your time.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. Because waiting in that line, no thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, one other thing that they did in 2017, they started doing in 2017, that I actually I feel like in some circumstances, like if the Christmas tree trail were something you needed to pay an admission for, I would say this is super tacky and ridiculous because it's just a commercial that I'm paying for. But the fact that it's free, this really doesn't bother me. They put these lanterns on each tree and basically feature an ornament that you can purchase in one of the stores at Disney Springs. And I think this is a very smart way to kind of monetize and advertise this trail. If it pluses the trail, I'm all for it. And I thought that this was really smart. It is funny how some of the ornaments are super generic. Like if it's I don't know, I'm just picking one, like a Jungle Book tree, and they're like, we don't really have a Jungle Book ornament. We'll just put like a yellow Mickey and, a yellow Mickey circles in there, and that'll be fine. That'll work for that tree.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing about them is, yes, they are clearly advertising, but it doesn't feel that way when you see it. Like the lantern is actually a pretty lantern.
Yeah.
And it flows nicely with the rest of the tree. So it's not in your face.
Yeah, so obviously some of the trees returned, some did not. There were more this year. They went into the 20s this year, and they added some, including a Pluto tree, a Sleeping Beauty tree, Cinderella, Fantasia, Lilo and Stitch, Dumbo, Robin Hood, which is really random, Peter Pan, Pinocchio, and kind of just like a general Disney tree. And the one that cracks me up is the Disney Springs Establishments tree, which is... Talk about this a little bit. This cracks me up.
Wait, I don't even remember that.
Oh, they have a tree. I think it's this year as well. They have it. It's just a tree that basically hangs signs of like all the stores.
Oh, yeah.
At Disney Springs.
But when you see it, it doesn't feel like it's part of the trail. It feels like a by the way type of tree.
It's kind of like a sponsored by type of thing. It just,
yeah.
It cracked me up. It just looks like a tree with tags of restaurants and shops on it, and it made me laugh quite a bit. It's kind of like when you go to, you ever seen like a gift card display in a store, and they hang all the gift cards on the tree?
That's exactly it.
That's what it felt like to me, so that made me laugh. But, and do you have any specific memories from 2017's Christmas Tree Trail?
Yeah, like I said, as we got about halfway through, I said out loud, these are really good. Like this is complete night and day difference from last year. And
no pencil trees, right?
No pencil trees, like they were big, and I know they did it this year. I think they started it last year, where the trees on either side were shorter. So the tree you're supposed to be looking at is really like the highlight tree,
Yeah.
Also, that first year, just dividing the trees on either side, it was just planters. The same planters that they used to block off the Great Movie Ride when it was under construction are now being used to line this pathway. But I feel like the next year they got more creative with making sure everything you saw was part of the trail. Anyway, but I remember the tree toppers, they really stepped it up that second year. And I'm specifically thinking of 101 Dalmatians. If you look at it in 2016, it's so great, right?
Is this the glove?
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's awesome. Yeah, so when you look at it in 2016, it's just a big red bow. The huge bows where like the ribbons trail all the way down to the bottom of the tree. That's all it is, with a bunch of polka dotted ornaments. But then that second year, they really got creative with the tree toppers, and it is Cruella de Vil's gloved hand just reaching out of the top, almost like a claw, and it's got all this frill around it, and it's so cool.
Yeah, now, I would agree. I have listed, actually, several of the tree toppers that I really, really, really loved that year, and one of them is on my favorite tree that year, because the Cinderella tree with the glass slipper at the top, stunning.
Yeah. Like,
just stunning. And Cinderella, although I like it, not one of my favorites movies, but like, that tree. That's the slipper on the top and the clocks all over it. Oh my goodness. Like the giant clocks were so, so beautiful. I really, really, really loved that tree.
That's another one where that first year, it was if I can remember correctly, it was just a bunch of light blue ornaments. But then that second year, they added the clocks, they added pumpkins, they added a swan. And it's like, why weren't you doing this the first year?
Yeah, they had to rummage through their prop storage and find some stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Another one that really stopped me when I saw it, and I actually rewound this because I was like, oh my goodness, was King Triton's Triton as the tree topper on Little Mermaid, which was like way cool. Like that was a super, super cool thing to see. I loved that one. I had the Corella's glove on my list as well. The villain's tree added Ursula's tentacles.
Yes.
Oh, I wish people could have seen your eyes right now, because your eyes just got so wide.
That piece, I was going to mention that piece too. It is fantastic. Like how it kind of starts at the top and just you see him poking out. So good. And also I love the Dumbo tree, which I think was new that year.
Yeah, that was new that year. Yep.
Okay, so the tree topper is like Dumbo's hat. Mm-hmm. And then kind of sticking out a little bit below that are his big ears and his trunk. And there's like an actual train near the bottom of it, just kind of sitting there on the branches. And there's the popcorn bucket. And I just thought that train was far and away better than any of the trees. Or excuse me, that tree was better than any of the ones from the year before.
Yeah, I loved the little fairy hats on the Sleeping Beauty tree. I thought that was cute just because the fairies are adorable. The Mary Poppins tree, which I liked the year before because of the chimney sweeps were there, but they added like the kite all patched up and Mary Poppins umbrella with the parrot head on it. I was just so cool.
And penguins.
And penguins, yeah.
And there's that like suffragette sash that she wears. I remember seeing that on the tree. So good.
It's so funny because, like, it kind of, when you think about it, it's just a mess of crap from the movies thrown on the tree. But it's done in a way that really makes it look beautiful. I am really curious if I could make a tree look that good with, like, the same materials. I don't know if I could.
Yeah, that's interesting because the fun ones for me, the most fun ones, are the ones where you have to be like, okay, what's that a reference to? And they even included that because it's very subtle. But you're right, somehow they also make it look like a pretty Christmas tree. I don't know how they do that.
Do you remember what the Muppet one had on the top?
I can picture it this year. Oh,
I think it was the same.
At the top?
Toward the top, yeah.
Oh, no, I don't know.
It's Miss Piggy's eyes and nose.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was a super funny topper as well.
That's a good tree with the oversized bulbs.
Yeah.
Like the size of your head, you know?
The Muppets are like fantastic. They do so many great Christmas specials and movies and such. And I love, first of all, can we just applaud the fact that like the Muppet tree is part of all 3 years? Because that kind of surprises me. Somebody involved with this really likes the Muppets because I feel like the Muppets are always the first thing to be cut from most stuff. So I love the fact that this tree still exists. I kind of wish it was a bit more specific to like, you know, Muppet Christmas Carol or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I still just love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's more specific to like the old Muppet Show because there's the applause sign that's on there, which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was this the year you talked about how like it was set up differently and it was set up nicer? Did they have fences the first year, or was this the year that the wooden fences were introduced?
No, the fences, I believe, were not part of it last year either. I think that was new this year, but it was more filled out.
I don't think so. I think the fences were there last year because I was watching video of it, and the fences were there, but there was nothing on them.
Oh, okay. I believe that.
And so, like, actually, one of my notes for 2017 was the fences surrounding the path are, like, really unappealing. They're just they look really temporary. You expect to see, like, Wilson from Home Improvement look over the fence and say, "Hi, howdy ho, neighbor." Like, it's just...
Yeah, better than the planters, though, I think.
Sure. So, like I said, like, it's. I think it's fun to look at how this thing gradually improves, because is there anything else you wanted to say about 2017?
No, it was just a switch for me where that first year it was like, this is ridiculous. I'm having so much fun. And that second year it was like, okay, there's so much potential here. And they finally found it. And I think Disney really embraced it that second year.
Yeah. So then we lead into 2018, which once again, it was plussed. And I mentioned those fences because those ugly fences from 2017 now have signage on it. And this is the thing that I lost my mind over and had to call you. You don't even understand how long, like, I contemplate. I'm like, I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow to record an episode about this. Do I really need to call him? I don't need to call him. I'm like, I need to call him. I need to talk to somebody about this right now. This is incredible because they hung signs and they were kind of like fake advertisements, I guess you would say, right?
Yeah.
And there was an advertisement referencing the greatest Christmas special / movie of all time, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas from the Jim Henson Company, which Disney does not own.
I mean,
I find this incredible.
About deep cuts. That's crazy.
Deep cuts. So, if first of all, if you haven't seen Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, I truly, with all the seriousness in the world, I think it's the greatest thing the Jim Henson Company ever made. The amount of detail in it is beautiful. You have not seen it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've only watched that gag reel that keeps popping up online.
That's right. People may know Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas from like a gag reel where Frank Oz is doing the voice of Ma Otter. He is not the voice in the actual movie. They replace his voice. But there's a little gag reel that's been going around social media recently, which is funny because that's existed for a very long time on the special features of the DVD. But for some reason, it got popular this year. And if you're listening to this on the day of its release or a couple days after, you have a chance this Sunday through Fathom Events to go see Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas on the big screen as part of a Jim Henson holiday double feature with a Fraggle Rock special. And I'm going. I think you are?
I think I am, yes. I've got to.
You need to. Now, I'm going to go on a tangent here about Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas because I haven't done that enough on this show. But there's a little bit of an issue with Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas because Kermit the Frog hosts it. He's kind of at the beginning and the end, and he narrates a bit throughout. Now, the Jim Henson Company still owns Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, but they don't own Kermit because Disney does, and so they actually have to edit around Kermit. So I don't know which version they're showing in the theater. I'm going to assume the Kermit-less episode, unless they got permission from Disney to use them. So it's a little bit of a bummer. If it's your first time seeing it, it won't bother you at all. You'd never even know it if you didn't hear me say it right now. But if you grew up loving it, you will miss Kermit. I will say you can get bootlegs online of the whole thing. And
how surprised will you be if it starts rolling and it is Kermit?
I'll be pretty surprised. I'll be thrilled, but I'll be pretty surprised just because I don't think that... I honestly just don't think they care enough to like go through the hassle. If they didn't care enough to like work that into their contract with Disney, which is the most ridiculous thing ever because Kermit was in everything Jim Henson did pretty much. Like, I don't think they care enough. But we'll see. I'll find out on Sunday, and I'm really excited. And people know already. It's actually Monday night as well. This past Monday night, they showed it as well. I didn't go, but... So some people out there know already, perhaps if you went and saw it. But in any case, there is this reference. There is an advertisement that simply says, "One night only, River Bottom Holiday Music Festival, Frogtown Hollow, Jubilee Jug Band with the River Bottom Nightmare Band," which is all stuff from Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And then, how do they tie it into Disney and make it make sense with Disney? The poster says, "Special guest stars Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem," which... are not part of Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, but of course are Muppets, and that's how they tie it together. Somebody, whoever did that, I kind of want to meet them and kiss them.
It's so good. You should email someone and see if you can get your hands on that poster when they're done with it.
Oh my goodness. I should.
Or, honestly, they should sell those. Every single poster on that fence should be sold as like an 11 by 14 print.
Well, to be fair, they don't have the rights to Emmett Otter. I mean,
okay, but all the others.
That would bum me out. If they sold every one and not the Emmett Otter one, I'd actually be really kind of upset about that.
They would be trolling you for sure at that point.
Yeah. Were there any other of those signs that you really liked? I know that's a weird nitpicky thing, but I mean, I literally paused the video, screamed, and then was like, I need to call somebody.
No, it's not nitpicky at all. Because I already mentioned that one of the things I love about the trees is finding the little details and trying to guess what these things are references to. And the posters, twice as much, because they really are these subtle references to movies. Like I remember the Peter Pan one said, it was just a poster with like the star glowing and it said second star to the right, travel agency. And then their slogan, was something like, "Where are you headed?" I don't remember what it was. It was better than that. But I remember there was one showing the rainbow tunnel from the old Imageworks in Epcot. Mm-hmm. You might have seen the old photo where Dreamfinder is standing there holding Figment in that rainbow tunnel. It's no longer there. I'm like, that's a deep cut right there. There's a Country Bear one with one of the blue bonnets, or I think that's what they're called. The sisters.
Oh, the three girls, the three bears.
Yeah. And it says, "Met a guy who's got you shook. impress him with a brand new look. And then last but not least, there's a dinosaur poster with a reference to Dr. Seeker and Dr. Marsh, which I also found quite delightful.
You love them, don't you?
Those the posters were as much fun to look at as the trees.
I just mean Dr. Seeker. You love Dr. Seeker.
Oh, it's a great pre-show. It's my favorite pre-show.
I love it. That's fantastic. So yeah, so they plussed it. I'm telling you, each year gets better. I can't wait to see what next year brings. This year and by the way, I should mention, if you're listening to this, you have through January 6th of 2019 to check out this year's Christmas tree trail at Disney Springs. So go ahead and do that if you have the opportunity. But there were some new trees, of course. There was the Haunted Mansion, there was Star Wars, there was Toy Story, and then the Walt Disney World theme parks tree. Mm-hmm. So did you have any favorite standouts this year?
I mean, can we talk about that Haunted Mansion tree?
You certainly can, because that's my number one.
Holy cow, what a genius idea.
Yeah. It was, so the thing that's super cool about it is it's kind of like the full body of the bride. Like you have her head toward the top and then you have like her torso and the veil going down. It's very cool. And you have like Madame Leota's gravestone. Very, very cool Haunted Mansion Christmas tree. One that I'm sure will inspire somebody to do their tree up that way. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney saw that on somebody's, because I saw something similar with Darth Vader going around on social media with like Darth Vader's head at the top and then his chest plate and then like kind of a cape along the sides. And it reminded me of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Disney was inspired by Pinterest for that tree.
I believe it. One tiny thing that they added this year that I actually thought made a big difference. If you look at pictures from that first year, the tree is just sitting on the concrete. Mm-hmm. And it's like, there's just no fanfare whatsoever. This year, they added those square bases under each one, and it's themed to the tree. So the Haunted Mansion base looks like a marble floor. And then I remember the base under Star Wars looked like a star field. Like it was just black with stars all over it.
I was very confused for 1 second because I thought you said the Haunted Mansion tree looked like the base looked like a Marvel, Marvel floor. And I was like, what? I am waiting for the Marvel tree. I'm surprised that's not a thing yet. But
no, it looked like a marble floor.
I got you now.
So things like that, it just makes a little difference, those little touches.
Yeah, little pluses. I love it.
My
the
favorites,
Toy Story
though,
one. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you asked about my favorites. Dumbo, for sure, is still my favorite. But I really like the Pinocchio one, too. It's got his hat as the tree topper.
Yep.
Near the top, there's a bird cage, and his nose is sticking out of the bird cage. And on the end of his nose is the bird in his nest, which I think is a great nod to the movie. It's a fun one. Yeah,
the Toy Story one I found to be a little bit disappointing.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine, but it's nothing spectacular. I thought it was nice.
I mean, there are at least 100 sheriff stars on that tree. And I'm like, there's a lot of stuff to pull from in Toy Story, guys. Come on.
Yeah. And the Walt Disney World theme parks tree, loved the concept, didn't love the execution. I like the idea of having a theme parks tree. But like each park icon was kind of like a cutout image of the park icon.
Yeah, so when you're waiting for a parade and the PhotoPass people come by and they give you the prop to hold and they take your picture, that's exactly what it was.
You're 100% right, yeah. The cool thing about that tree was they had like the monorail toy wrapped around the tree. And that was like the highlight of it, I would say. But overall, I was like, okay, that's one thing I want to see plus next year. Or even give each park their own tree. I'd be for that.
Yes.
Because let's face it, Spaceship Earth deserves to be a tree topper.
Yes. Looking ahead to 2019, I think I hope the Haunted Mansion tree has inspired more parks-related trees. Because so far, that's the only one. Every other tree is movies, pretty much. But if we could get an It's a Small World tree, or like you said, an Epcot tree, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, now I am curious, if you could create a tree, what would you theme it around?
Oh, okay. Definitely It's a Small World.
Really?
Yes. I mean, that's one. I think you could pull a lot from that ride.
Okay.
Also, is there anything besides Toy Story that's Pixar? Am I blanking?
Let's see. Is there a Wall-E tree? No, there's not. Let me look at my list real quickly. I'm not seeing anything that pops out.
Okay.
As Pixar.
Because I think a Monsters Inc. tree with a bunch of doors, colored doors.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And then, like different monsters' eyes and tails and fur sticking out could be a lot of fun.
By the way, speaking of Pixar, you know what I kept... first glance, this happened to me twice while doing the research for this. I kept seeing the Robin Hood tree with the archery targets. Yeah. And I kept going, oh, Merida. And then I was like, oh it's Robin Hood. It's okay.
That's funny. But, I kind of like that tree with Prince John's crown at the top. Yeah. I like that one. But I see that.
I would love to see a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids tree, but that's not my answer.
No, decorate it right now. Tell me.
Well, of course there'd be magnifying glasses all over it.
Sure.
And I think that like garland made of Cheerios is a definite, right? And then, Wayne Zielinski's Madcap helmet should be the tree topper.
Of course.
Right? I think that there's some good opportunity here. Giant insects would probably have to be part of it, but that's not my answer. As much as I would love to see that. My answer is more Christmas related. I would actually like to see a tree, preferably 4 trees, themed to Mickey's Christmas Carol, because I love A Christmas Carol and I love Mickey's Christmas Carol, and I would love it if each tree was represented by one of the 4 ghosts. So you had Jacob Marley's tree, and then because like how cool would that be with like a goofy head at the top as Marley with like the chains wrapped around it as garland? I think would be super cool. And then a Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, Future tray. I think it would be awesome. And
it's Christmas.
And it's Christmas. I just love Mickey's Christmas Carol. So that's the one I would really love to see happen. I think that would be super, super cool.
I also noticed, and I'm a guy, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but there are no trees dedicated to movies where males are the hero. Well, that's not true because Peter Pan, but almost every princess gets a tree, but Aladdin, Hercules, The Lion King, Hunchback, none of them have trees.
Yeah. I would say, first of all, you are a guy and you are allowed to ask that question or say that, I should say. You are allowed. I give you permission.
It's unfair because I'm glad all the princesses have a tree, but Aladdin is a very popular movie and character.
Well, let's face it, they've added several trees each year. So tell me this, is it fitting in the same space or are they actually expanding the space that it's taking up?
No, I think it's fitting in the same space. I do feel like it's a little bit wide. It's hard to explain. It's not so much like you see a tree, walk 20 feet and see another one. It's like on both sides of you, there are trees all the way through this thing.
Yeah. If they put more trees in the same amount of space, would it feel crammed, do you feel like? Or
I think so, yeah. Because Disney Springs gets pretty crowded on the weekends. And so if you go there at like 6 o'clock on a Saturday night, it's just kind of full of people.
Okay. I was going to ask you, is it worth returning every year? But clearly it is. Like,
yeah,
this has become a tradition for you. And honestly, it's one of the things that, like, if I were to go during the holiday season, I absolutely would go out of my way to check out the Christmas tree trail. Yeah. I think it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it takes 30 minutes.
I think Downtown Disney should add it.
They should. And we didn't talk about it, but at night, they turn on the snow machine.
Okay, so I was going to ask you this. First of all, I was going to say, have you done it during day and night, and do you have a preference?
I have done it both. I think there are merits to seeing it at both times. When you see it during the day, everything's a bit more vibrant, because when lights shine on things, everything kind of has a blue tint to it. But during the day, you can really pick out more of the details. So if you're going to see every detail, I think the day is fine. But if you're going for the experience, like if you want that Christmassy feel when the snow is blowing and the music's just a little bit louder and you're bundled up because the sun's not out anymore, then probably nighttime.
And so they only snope the place up at night? They don't do it during the day at all?
The only time they did it when I was there was at night, but that doesn't mean it's a hard and fast rule.
I've experienced so much Snope this year. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's been a Snope
I gotta tell you, the music they play is pretty good too.
Okay. What do they play?
Well, like the better jazz, like pop versions of songs. But then they also play like sweet songs sometimes, like the Christmas Time Is Here from Peanuts. They played that last time I was there. They just pick good Christmas songs, I think.
Okay, so it's not just Disney Christmas songs. So potentially there is some Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas music in there.
Maybe, but mostly what I've heard is like pop stars of today singing versions of songs.
Derek, don't break my heart. Let's just say there's some Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas music in there.
There absolutely is.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. I have to call somebody about that. So, yeah, I mean, overall, this is a win. Oh, I do keep hearing that there are carolers there, too. Have you experienced carolers?
I haven't.
Okay, I kept reading that, but I didn't see any video of it. So maybe somebody made that up, kind of like the Emmett Otter music fact there. But overall,
I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
Did you have a least favorite in all the 3 years?
Oh, in all 3 years? I mean, my least favorite... Moana I hated in year one. And then this year, honestly, the parks tree, I really didn't care for. And that saddens me because I love the concept of it. I just thought it was lazy. The way you described it, those things that you hold before the parades for the photo pass, it's exactly what they are. So I just thought it was very lazy on something that could have been very, very cool. So that was disappointing to me. And then,
well, you mentioned the Toy Story tree.
Yeah.
The only 3 new trees were Haunted Mansion, which we loved, Toy Story, which we were disappointed by, and Star Wars, which I thought was the worst tree this year.
And the Walt Disney World theme parks. So they had 4 this year. Yeah.
But as far as movies go, I expected way more from that Star Wars tree, but it was just a bunch of big round ornaments with symbols painted on them, like the First Order symbol and the Resistance symbol.
To be honest, I can't even remember that tree, so it was pretty forgettable, I guess.
And the tree topper. The tree topper was just a lightsaber toy just sticking straight out of the top.
Fair enough. I guess. I don't know. It's crazy. But I've kind of fallen in love with this tradition, and I hope it sticks around for a very long time. And anything else you want to add before we do some trivia?
No, I feel like I've talked so much about it. I didn't realize I was so passionate about the tree trail.
I love that you've gone every year. I was so I knew I wanted to do an episode about this, and I was like, I know Derek was just on the show, but he's the guy to talk to about this. I've heard you just speak so passionately, good and bad about it. That I need
to go back and re-listen to the episode we recorded just after seeing it that first time, because we trashed it pretty bad, I think.
Just deservedly so. I mean, pencil trees should never be part of a Disney exhibit. Let's just put that. It was not good. But anyway, and one other thing I would say is, as much as I love The Little Mermaid, I would say just no ocean-themed trees, maybe. I just don't like the Moana. The Mermaid one's okay. The other one, Lilo and Stitch, had a lot of ocean stuff. That was like my least favorite of 2017. Ugh.
Yeah.
And I love the ocean. Don't write me, please. I love the ocean. I love seashells, whatever. It's all great. Just not on a Christmas tree.
Okay, don't visit Old Key West during the holidays.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I would hate that. They probably have garland made out of seashells. Yeah, I will avoid that at all costs. But in any case, I think that means it's trivia time! All right, Derek, do you want to hit me with a trivia question first, or shall I hit you?
You go first.
Okay, well, since we've been talking about Christmas trees, I'm wondering, do you know the heights of the Christmas trees on Main Street USA at both Disneyland Park and Magic Kingdom?
Okay, they're different?
They are different heights.
Oh my word. I'm so bad at this. And my co-hosts make fun of me for it.
Oh, now I'm really excited for you to guess. Let's hear it.
Well, I once was talking about Fantasmic in Disneyland, and I said that Peter Pan and Hook were fighting 200 feet above the crowd, which is obviously an exaggeration, but okay.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that high. No.
But it was a legitimate guess when I said it. Okay, the Main Street tree in Walt Disney World is 38 feet.
That's not very tall.
Oh,
That would be. Trying to think.
Almost 4
I'm pretty
stories.
sure the buildings on Main Street USA are taller than 38 feet.
oh.
I could be wrong about that, but that would be
Okay.
my guess.
59 feet.
You're getting closer.
67 feet.
Just a little lower.
65 feet.
Ding, ding, ding. 65 feet at Magic Kingdom on Main Street USA.
Wow.
So if Magic Kingdom's is 65 feet, how tall do you think Disneyland's would be?
45 feet.
No, it's not that big a difference.
Oh, okay. When I said that, I was like, surely it's not that much shorter. How about 58 feet?
Nope, a little higher.
60 feet.
60 feet, yes, indeed. And I was reading a fun
Wow.
little fact. I hope this is true because I Instagrammed it. But I read a fun little fact that 65 feet, the height of the tree at Magic Kingdom, is the shortest tree that they will consider for Rockefeller Plaza in New York City, which of course is one of the most famous Christmas trees in the country. They will not go below 65 feet, and they try to get closer to like 90 feet. So if you've ever been in New York City and seen that tree, it gets quite a bit larger than what you'll see at the Disney parks, and definitely wider. They're very narrow for good reason at the Disney parks. So
Yeah. I've never been to Disneyland at Christmas. What is on that tree?
they have like giant, kind of like figurines of Santa Claus. It's like large props are on the tree,
Okay.
as well as like giant ornaments and such.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. My question is actually a reference to something you talked about on the show. You mentioned the tree topper for the Alice in Wonderland tree. Do you remember what it is?
It is the Mad Hatter's hat.
Yeah. Do you know what number is on his hat?
Is it 8/10?
No, not quite.
It's something / something.
That is true. That is true.
5/7.
No, you had the 10 right. It's 10/6.
Which stands for what?
Well, that's good. That was my next question.
Oh, 10. So that would be October 6th. October 6th. Was that the release date for? I doubt it, for Alice in Wonderland.
No.
Does it have something to do with October 6th?
Well, retroactively, yes. Like in recent years, people have deemed October 6th
Is it Mad Hatter Day?
Well, now it is, but that's not why Lewis Carroll wrote it in the book.
First of all, I never knew. I knew that there was a Mad Hatter Day. I've tweeted about it. I never knew it was October 6th for that reason.
Yeah.
And stupid me, I never knew that Pi Day was on March 14th because of 3.14. Never knew that.
It's true.
Until
Yes.
like this past Pi Day. I was like, wow.
PI Day. Now, PIE Day is another time.
PI like the number 3.14 - on forward and all that stuff. But so your question for me is, what does the 10-6 or 10/6 mean in the original story?
Yes.
Ooh, gosh.
I did not know this.
10. Ooh, literally no idea.
Okay.
What?
So it's a price tag in his hat. And of course, the book was written 150 years ago. And it refers to the price being 10 shillings and 6 pence, which is pre-decimal British currency.
I like October 6th better. I think that's better.
And then like at some point in the last 5-10 years, people decided, let's make that Mad Hatter Day.
I love it. Fun times. Well, Derek, thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about the Disney Springs Christmas Tree Trail. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
No, that's Halloween. Let's get serious here, Derek. Come on. It's the second most wonderful time of the year. This is your favorite?
Yeah.
Excellent. How was Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, by the way? Anything extra special this year?
The cookies are now individually wrapped, which is amazing.
All right.
I love that party and that parade so much.
You prefer it to Mickey's Not So Scary?
I do. And I fully understand I'm in the minority there, but there's just something about it. The snow.
That stage show I still can't get over, though. The song about texting at Christmas.
I can't with the texting.
The only redeeming quality of that show is the fact that it ends with the Muppet Christmas Carol song. That's the moment where I'm like, all right, I accept you for what you are, but oh, Lordy. Anyway, cool.
I'm warming up to it.
Thank you so much for coming on, Derek. Why don't you let the folks know where they can find you and your wonderful Disney podcast?
Oh, well, thank you. I will. You can find us every other week on the Mad Chatters podcast. We release one every other week on iTunes and all those other sites. You can find us on all the social media sites. And if you want to find me, I am Derek Liu on Twitter and Instagram.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I will talk to you soon. Have a Merry Christmas, Derek.
You too.
And folks, I want to remind you that next Wednesday, December 19th, is the Season 5 finale of Disney Coast to Coast. Make sure you tune in there to get all the news of what's going to be going on during the hiatus, as well as the date for the return of Season 6 of Disney Coast to Coast, so make sure you check that out. Of course, I want to remind all of you that the DCTC 2019 calendars are currently on sale over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com, so if you've been enjoying the show all year long, head on over to DisneyCoastToCoast.com, click on Order Calendar, check it out. Perhaps you want to order one for yourself or maybe a loved one for the holiday season. It's a gift they can enjoy all year long. Those are available for a limited time over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. While you're there, you can find all of our social media there as well. And other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for watching Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePaoli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.